gonna do something a little different. Got my spoons and my knives right here, and got us a little something to work with. We've been doing some JB welding, and so far, just to get to the point, I have made and it's the first time I've ever did this, so I made a stainless steel fuel tank for my tractor, and I had one pinhole that was, let's see, I had one little tiny pinhole right here, wasn't no bigger than nothing, but when I pressurized the tank after getting it welded, I had a pinhole there, I had one down here, very faint. I welded all these pinholes up, but I still wanted to JB weld it to seal up any imperfections that may come back later, which I kind of doubt that will happen, but I didn't want to take no chances because this is holding fuel on a tractor. And I built this for a Kubota B7100. Got my little drop for the fuel. Like I said, it is stainless steel. This is the first time I've ever welded stainless steel. It's the first time I've ever made a fuel tank. Would I do it again? Yeah, because practice, practice, practice. But this is it. All stainless steel fuel tank. And that is JB Weld. So like I said, I had a pinhole or two in it. I didn't want to take any chances. So welded all those up. Putting JB Weld on it to sort of fill in those seams to just make sure that there is no problems later on down the road. I don't care how good a welder you are. If you're making anything that's holding fuel, you need to put some kind of sealer on it. That's just my opinion, especially after the trouble I had to go through to make the darn thing. Because it wasn't easy, by no means. Not easy at all. Now what we're doing today is, like I said, it's going to be a little different. JB Weld, the original cold weld steel reinforced epoxy. This stuff's very easy to use, and there's no issue with the method of how to do it. It's real simple. I'm gonna take this line off here. Good grief. I take, very simple, easy to do. I want to turn this thing over, and let's see. Yep, this is the sides. We'll do the bottom. We'll do the bottom, then we'll leave it laying down. If you're just joining us, be sure to subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. This is the first time I have ever welded and handmade a stainless steel fuel tank. And this fuel tank's got to go on my tractor. I've never done this before. I was actually shocked that it actually come out almost perfect. I didn't use the right gas, but it don't matter. It still welded. It still worked. It still did what it needed to do. End of discussion. It's gonna work, and I'll put the JB Weld on it, and it'll be fine. So right now, I am gonna show y'all exactly how to take and drop everything in the shop, knock everything over, can't find nothing when you need it. Oh man. Anyway, I've got my 2 spoons, I got my 2 butter knives. Now, what I'm gonna do, keep my butter knife right here. Now, we're at here, we got the steel. And then we've got the hardener. Now, key thing to doing this, to do it, it's always the method I use. What's going on, everybody? This is the method I use because this is hardener and this is the steel. I always put, and it really don't matter, but it's just what I do. I put the hardener down first. And I'll tell you why I do that. The reasons why I do the hardener first is because if you're trying to get this stuff put out and then try to put it away, if you got the other material on it, it's hardening right then and there. So if y'all can see this, I'm gonna let this camera down a little bit more so y'all can actually see what I'm doing. You take and put one part of the hardener down, and it's like I say, you just take it and you put out that much. Wipe that tip off real good and screw that cap back on that hardener pretty snug. All right, now you can see how much is there. You can see how long that is. Okay, this is an 11 by 9 by 11 fuel tank. All right, now this is where it gets where you got to stay on your A game here. Because once I do this it's game on. Put the same exact amount. You just get right on top of it, just like putting toothpaste on your toothbrush. You just take that stuff, start it out, and start pulling along that hardener, and just keep squirting, just like you putting toothpaste, like you're being generous. You get it on there, and you get right to the end of the hardener. And I just push a little bit to the side there, roll it off. I get that stuff rolled off good. And then I screw that cap back on. Make sure you screw that cap on nice and snug. I have just welded a stainless steel fuel tank about one day last week. You take this stuff and you want to make sure you're stirring it up. You want to mix this stuff together until it turns pretty gray. You just keep stirring it, keep mixing it. But I'd made a stainless steel fuel tank about a week or two ago. And stainless steel, because I'd never done it before, it was a little tricky. And I've been welding for, 35 years probably or longer. So my welding skills are phenomenal. There's no problem with that at all. But I never welded stainless steel until 2 weeks ago. So that being said, I just took and welded it up and got it put together, did a pressure test on it, did a water test. I had a few little tiny itty bitty pinholes. I welded all of them up, but one there was no way to safely weld it without just making a disastrous mess. So I just chose to roll a little bit of heat to the edge and just barely flashed a little bit of metal over on it to sort of seal it up good. And you get this stuff stirred up really, really, really good, and it'll start getting tacky and start getting like chewing gum. And then it'll get to where it's hard to handle just about. But you get it like that and you're ready. You just take that little stir device, or little... All right, now we're gonna take it and start spreading it everywhere that it's been welded. So I just take the back side of the spoon and scoop me off a little dab and just gob it on there. And I'll keep gobbing it in that weld crack and kind of pushing it down. And we'll keep doing that all the way across here. It's actually really interesting to do this stuff because I never in a million years thought I'd ever have to make one of these fuel tanks. But when I looked at them on eBay, I was like, people are crazy. They want $300 for a tank. Cost me $35 in metal to make it myself. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of time involved, but, you know, for $300, you can buy you a plastic tank and have a tractor running the same day. Well, it's wintertime right now. I'm not really worried about the tractor that much. You just take the back side of that spoon, just get it right there, and spread it out a little bit. But I just couldn't see paying that kind of money for something. It just didn't seem right. Like I got all this welding stuff that I got here in my shop. I can do whatever I need to do whenever I want to do it. And I decided to just make one. And happy I did, because, it may look like a goose bomb on some corners of this tank, but it actually will work. And being functional and working is a whole lot better than spending all that money when you can just make it. I just got to get all that JB Weld spread out real good. And this stuff does not be so forgiving. This stuff starts setting up pretty freaking fast. Don't really give you a warning or nothing. It just starts hardening. And then if you ain't got it spread, you just got yourself one big mess that you can't fix. So I'm having to spread this stuff out pretty quick. But it's like I said, when it's all said and done, this will be a really good fuel tank. My tractor won't leak because of that old plastic fuel tank. And when I want to cut my grass or do any kind of farm work, I can just go out there, get in the tractor, and not worry about putting 3 gallons of diesel in the darn thing, and then next thing you know, a gallon and a half's gone from running the tractor for 30 minutes. Morning, Rob. What's going on? We just made us a stainless steel fuel tank, and I'm just taking JB Weld where I had a few pinholes and sort of sealing it up. Really and truly, this is just more of an extra precaution. Just trying to get it all sealed up nicely. All right. It starts to get tacky. Then it starts to get where it's like cake batter. You can spread it out real nice. It starts doing good. I like it. Yeah, buddy. Stuff's doing good. I was kind of thinking it wasn't going to be nice to me, but so far, so good. We're going to have to mix up another batch. You don't want to mix up too much of this stuff. You'll end up out working it, and it'll start setting up, and then you're wasting it. In presence of presentations and how it looks, Wayne ain't worried about that. Not even. It's not even a factor. I could care less what it looks like, because I want it to get the job done. I am building, well, I just got through building a stainless steel fuel tank, and I'm putting JB Weld on it to seal up a few cracks that I've already welded, but it's the precautionary measures of knowing that this thing's holding fuel in it. And because it's holding fuel, Wayne don't want to set himself on fire. So I'm taking the JB Weld is gone and just sealing up a few cracks. Truth be known, just about anybody that builds a fuel tank probably puts some kind of type of sealer of some sorts on it. Let's just get real here. You know they do. Anyway, let's mix us up another batch. Let's see, about that much. Alrighty. Get that daggum snugged up real good. And we'll put the daggum steel on it. Get this stuff mixed up real good, and I can get this bottom side done today. Will be really nice. See, I got it on there, 2 parts, 1 part equal of each, and you stir them up. You mix them up just like this right here and get it to where it just starts turning gray. Once it's gray, it's mixed. You have to, because it's already hardener and stuff, it's already been mixed here once, some of that's already feel intact. So you gotta be kind of quick with it. And get this JB Weld mixed up really nice, and we'll go back to finishing the tank on here. Alright. Now that she's gray, she's ready. Take that little bit of excess and put it there. I am going to put some around the fuel valve or fuel drop. And once I've done that, I mean, that's making somewhat of a mess when you kind of look at it from one perspective. But I look at it like this: no more leaking. All right. I'm just spreading it out to kind of give that some strength. All right. Now, take our last spoon, and then we're going to spread the rest of it. Hey, Ashley. Hey, Rob. I see several of you in there. Give me just a minute, and I'll catch y'all back up to what's going on here. We mixed up JB Weld. We made our own diesel fuel tank out of stainless steel, because the plastic ones online are almost $300. So it cost me $30 to make my own. Now, the time that's involved in making this thing would have probably equaled out to about $300 with all my time involved in making this stinking thing. But when you factor in how long the stainless steel will last over the plastic one, it's kind of like, I should be in business doing this. I mean, really. Good money in this, I believe, if there was a need for it. But we're just trying to cake it all in there and get all these little cracks. There may not be any more because I did weld all of them, but I'm just at that point where I don't want to take no chances and not have some of these cracks filled. That way I know without a shadow of a doubt that, you know, everywhere I welded, I know I filled. And that's a good thing, because we know that we did everything that we could possibly do to stop any leaks. And that's all that matters. Tie all that stuff together. All right, so we got the bottom of the fuel tank done. Everything looks really good. Oh, man. So, this is pretty much all we can do until this dries. This takes about uh, 6 hours for it to tack up and harden, and about another 12 to 14 hours, it'll be pretty much cured out. After that, you're probably looking at 2 days, and it'll be a lot better. But there you go, sealed up tank. Not that it needed it, but I had a little tiny hole right there that I just really wanted to get rid of, and I welded it up. It leaked again. I ground it down, cleaned it up again, seen that it had a hair line that went that way. So I went behind it and I welded that up. Well, now it was like water wouldn't come out of it, but you could tell that water was running down. So I ground everything off about that far, welded it up, nothing leaked out. Well, even after doing all that welding on this thing, I thought to myself, if there's any chance whatsoever that this thing could leak, I'd rather do that right there and know that it is not going to leak. So the back side of it's already been done. Really, all I got to do now in about another day or two is do these seams on the sides on this end, and then I'll do the top. And once I do the top, I'll go back over it, check it with an air hose, and see if I feel any air blowing out of it. And then if there's not, then we should be good to go. And should be ready to put back on the tractor, and we can get that puppy back running, which I'll be very happy to have my tractor running. I miss driving my tractor. It's a shame I have to take the weekends and work so hard just to get something remotely close to ready, but for the amount of money and my time, and I'm not even going to count my time, but it cost me about 30. Well, let's see. No, it cost me less than 80 bucks for supplies, the metal, and all the consumables for the welder. About 80 bucks. All right. You take that in consideration, all the material, all the consumables to run the welder that needed for stainless steel, and then you take the time to cut all this, prep everything, get everything to fit and be right. Then you add up the hours I spent welding this thing, and I've got about probably 10 hours worth of welding on this. And at $65 an hour, that's pretty expensive. So somewhere you gotta kind of say, okay, that's a little expensive, but it's just the reality of it. This thing right here, if I had this where I was cutting these things out and I was making them, had all the supplies there on demand, I had enough supplies bought up that I could make hundreds of these, I could probably charge $40 an hour for them. And then the material, and have a jig that these things could set on, that I could weld them in place, and then they'd be perfect every single time. And then you're probably looking at about probably right there in the $400 range for that tank steel. So this stuff ain't cheap by no means. I mean, it is not. It's not cheap at all. Nothing's cheap anymore. Ain't no way around it. Just a fact of life. Sad, but true. It's a fact of life. Alright, that thing will sit there for probably about two days. Cure out. I did the other side yesterday, and it had cured out almost 100%. And say another couple of hours on it, it'd be cured. So by the time that gets cured out and I can get back out here to work on that fuel tank, it'll be looking good. Yeah, Rob, you're right. Stainless steel is definitely very difficult to weld with. It's you got to have the special gas, you got to have the special wire. Um, Sometimes it's just one of those things where you just got to have the air in here. The air quality's got to be good. There's just so many things that goes on with it that if any of the variables are not right, it won't turn out right. And see, I used stainless steel wire. I used the right tips, the right gauge, the right size, but I wasn't going to do nothing more than just that. When I priced how much just the pure gas was, I was like, I got to looking it up in the book. I could still use my 64% or 65%. And I used it, and it's all it said was is it'd make sort of blackish brown spots everywhere you're welding. And I'm fine with that. It's called a brush. We'll brush it off, clean it up. Now, if I'd have used the pure gas, yes, it would have been very clean. Probably would have welded a little bit cleaner, but I'm not going to complain about that either. This thing only had 3 little tiny needle holes in it out of 8 hours worth of welding, stainless steel inside out, and then welding it from the top plate. I welded that when I closed it up. That's the only place I did not have the option to weld from the inside because I was closing it off. That being said, I did the overlap trick, and I had that piece cut to where it overlapped. So I went in there and I welded it, sort of folds the metal over, so to speak, and welded that up. And I mean, that side right there where I closed it up, just absolutely welded up perfect. But I think maybe just by chance what I did was when I was welding on the inside, I think I blew a needle hole in 1 or 2 places. And considering I've never did stainless steel, but I weld general mild steel, it's not bad. I have thought about, seriously, I have thought about just taking and take the DA sander and DA sand off some of the imperfections on it, and then turn right around and wheel sand it, put a base coat primer on it. Then when I get done with the base coat primer, I thought about taking the filler and put the filler on it. Yeah, and then I was thinking seriously about taking and rubber spraying it. Yeah, you said that. I was thinking about getting a can of that Flex Seal or something and sort of rubberize it with a rubberized coating and just call it a day. Just call it a day and let that be the end of it. And I think it would do good. I consider, daggum, I've already done welded up all the holes but the one. The one hole's at the 2 it's a 2.5 gallon tank. The hole is about 2 gallons. One little tiny hole. And I JB welded the living crap out of that. It shouldn't be a problem. Plus it's spacing out. I'm gonna see it if it ever does go to leaking. The other tank was leaking a gallon of fuel. The plastic one was leaking about a gallon in just a couple hours. Like I could fill it up with 3 gallons of diesel, start cutting grass, and by the time I'd had an hour and a half of cutting grass, down below the rocker panel where the panel comes across right there just under your foot, it'd already be coated with diesel. And by the time I'd get done cutting grass, where it'd take only a quart, if even that, to cut all my grass, I was losing about 1.5 gallons. So that's a lot of diesel for the money, because diesel's around $4 and something a gallon at the time. I think it's $3.50 something now. But yeah, later on I'm gonna try to do a another video. Gonna take and go do something, take care of doing something else here real quick. But and I got to do some ham radio stuff here a little later on. So I got some things that's happening that I got to take care of, and I figured, well, you know what better time to take and, you know, just kind of do some of the radio stuff since I'm off work right now. I thought I'd take and do a video on some rearranging things that I'm gonna do, and then we'll just go from there, because for some reason or another I got a few things I need to get done in there and out here, kind of look over some stuff. It's getting winter time. I need to get into those things and look and see what's going on. And then after that, you know, we'll load that video up too. It's already gonna take this time forever, because I swear I don't know what the daggum issue is with everything that has to do with the Wi-Fi here lately. But anyway, y'all have yourself a good day. I am going to call it quits right now. The JB Weld will set up for about 6 hours. It'll kind of cure to a non-tacky. I highly advise, if you're using JB Weld, the surface be clean and prepped. If you squirt out like squirting toothpaste, make sure you put out whatever amount that you only need. Now, the length of my finger and the size of toothpaste, 2 equal parts of that, will cover about 11.5 to 14 inches, according to how you're spreading it. So think about that when you're using that stuff, because that stuff will go a long way. Anyway, I hear something outside. I need to go investigate. Y'all have yourself a good day. Happy Thanksgiving, what's left of it, and hope y'all have a good Christmas. And we will see you soon. Y'all be sure to like, subscribe, hit the bell notifications, and we'll see you next time.